The Successful Servant Leader podcast is all about the pioneer woman on her unique journey of becoming and being who God has called her to be. The divine connection between the wealth mindset and success in every area of our lives can no longer be denied. Successful Servant Leader teaches us how to increase our confidence and strategically and effectively serve while in the pursuit of success in our lives, our faith, and our businesses. I'm your host, Victoria Grace, and welcome to the show. Hello, Successful Servant Leader family. Happy 2023. Happy new month. Happy new week. I'm just so excited and so cheerful and so grateful. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and being a part of this movement. I am seriously so glad that you're here. Without you, really, I would just be talking to myself, right? So I really am so glad that you're here. Go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for intentionally choosing to be a part of this conversation that will most definitely help all of us level up spiritually, personally, and professionally. If you are new here, happy 2023, happy new year. I pray that you had a blessed new year. I pray that your month of December was blessed. I want to welcome you and say, first and foremost, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button on whatever app you are listening on. You will get a fresh episode on either the wealthy place, healthy behavior change, and or topics related to the modern day pioneer and the modern day servant leader every single week. I'm going to go ahead and say it again. Happy new week, happy new month, happy new year. I pray that your last week, that your last month, and that your last year, 2022, was off the chain. But if it wasn't, if you had some cracks and some crevices, if you stumbled over your feet a couple times, okay? If you made a couple mistakes, if you just couldn't even find it in you to do what you know you're supposed to be doing, that's okay. Let's start this year off right, and let's do what we can together to make sure that this week, this month, this year of 2023 is off the chain. It's everything that God has preordained it to be for you, for your life, for your business, for your ministry, for your family, right? Let's do what we can to make sure that this week is. So of course, since we want to make sure that we're starting the year off right and that this week, this month, and this year is off the chain, you already know we have to start off with a BT, a biblical truth if you're new here. Every single episode, I share a biblical truth from our amazing community, Dare to Pursue, which is free to join. The link is available in the show notes. But I share one of the truths that come directly from our community that go out multiple times a week. So you guys just get one of them once a week here on the podcast, but once you join the community, you get multiple throughout the week sent directly to your phone so that you can get into alignment with God's word for your life, get into alignment with his will for your life, right? And command and win each and every day with the power and the authority and the grace that God has given each and every one of us. So to start off 2023, we're going to be in Psalm 5 and 3, and it says, "In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." So this says, in the morning, he hears your voice. He hears you. He knows you by name, okay? He understands the way you talk, the way you speak. He understands your emotions. The Lord hears your voice. And all you have to do is bring your requests before him, or lay your requests at his feet, or just have the courage enough to be vulnerable before him and say, you know what, God, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I desire, right? As long as it's in his will, all you have to do is wait in expectancy and it shall come to pass. I know that was a little bit longer than what we usually do, but here's our biblical truth. go ahead and repeat after me. When I pray and praise, the Lord hears my voice. We have a divine connection and relationship. Let's say that again. We, which means the Lord and I, we have a divine connection and relationship. I know that when I bring my request to Him, He hears me. All I have to do is wait in expectancy. Again, when I pray and praise, the Lord hears my voice. We have a divine connection and relationship. I know that when I bring my request to Him, He hears me. All I have to do is wait in expectancy. Again, today's BT was based off of Psalm chapter 5, verse 3. Make sure that you go and check that out for yourself and stand firm on today's biblical truth. Stand firmly on it and believe that, like I said, you have the power and the authority through Christ to mentally and physically align yourself with God's truth regularly and consistently, not just on occasion. So, for example, this podcast is an on occasion type thing since we only get one episode a week. But on the flip side, on a consistent basis would be available to you, like I said, in our Dare to Pursue community. So you want to be intentional, and that is what we are coming to talk about today. Intentionality and hello 2023. Intentionality in this year. And I'm going to share some ways that I've been very intentional, but at the same time, I'm human. And in this very moment, yes, I have done all the things right. I've planned, I've prepared, I've talked to God, and I can't wait to tell you guys what God said about 2023 and what we have coming up in this new year. So get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. If you're not on my email list, click the link in my bio and you will see, when you go to my website, you'll see where it says join our Dare to Pursue community. You want to make sure you're on the list. There are some amazing things coming up and you want to make sure that you do not miss out on that. But I'm not released to share it with you just yet. And let me tell you why. Because God had me do a purging. So first and foremost, He has me, like I said, being very intentional, but He had me do a purging and I am still working on finishing that up, which is why what I have to share with you guys cannot just yet be released. But it will be released within this month. So stay tuned, right? If you're supposed to be here, stay tuned. And so I just want to kind of give you a synopsis of the email that I sent out to my list yesterday, January 1st, 2023. Over the last 4 years, I've created an email list of over 500 people, and I'm happy and I love all of them, right? However, God was really talking to me let me tell y'all something. I got my first word of the Lord, and that's what I'm really excited to share with you guys about. When I give that word of the Lord, what we will be doing in conjunction with that word. But I lived 2022 110% differently than I ever had any other year of my life. I don't really know how to explain it, but I lived it so differently, and I allowed God to just move freely in my life that He trusted me, right? To start to expand upon my spiritual gifts. And maybe it was all in the right timing and it all was happening in the timing that it was supposed to happen. But I just moved and I lived so differently in 2022 than I ever had. I know for a fact, I could just see in myself, in my finances, in my business, that it paid off, and it's going to continue to pay off because, okay, your girl has learned her lesson. I'm not going back to, I need 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 confirmations from God before I actually do something. So that's over with. That's done. Immediate obedience. That was my word last year, and it's going to continue to be my word. And what I have to do is be immediately obedient, right? But like I was saying, intentionality. So He's had me do a purging. And so because of this list, and I'm going to reboot my Facebook group. So if you've been here for a while and you're in that group, stay tuned. I'm super excited about that. He just has so many different plans, but he said, everybody that's on the list right now probably doesn't want to be there. They may even want to be there. However, they don't have the concept of the immediate obedience and the understanding of how important it is for them in this season to be immediately obedient. And so I'll share just a little bit from the email that I sent. But of course, I said happiest of New Year's, all of that good stuff and just sending blessings and things like that. But I shared that 2022 showed me so much about myself. And I know that there's still so much to learn. Oh my goodness. But I know that 2022 showed me so much. I shared how much I moved differently in 2022. And then I went into the fact that there is so much that I want to share with you guys right now. And that God has gifted me with huge plans for real MVPs, modern pioneer women, successful servant leaders, and faith-based entrepreneurs for the year of 2023. However, I know that the direction that He's taking me, successful servant leader, and dare to pursue, that it's not for everyone. And, He basically just had me say it outright, maybe this isn't for you anymore. And I want to make sure that I am in alignment in all things. This goes back to that intentionality. And before I keep going, maybe there are some areas in your life in which you are not aligned anymore, or they're not aligned with you anymore. You've got to be okay with letting that thing go, or letting those people go, or letting that job go. And I'm not telling nobody to quit their job unless that's what God said, okay? But we have to be okay and intentional about getting into God's divine alignment. This podcast is 2 years old now as of October 2022. And we've spent so much time talking about mindset and how to change our mindset and healthy behavior change and understanding the importance of self-awareness. And that self-awareness was actually God's idea, and that mindfulness was God's idea, and that manifestation was God's idea. And the world took these things and twisted it, right? Took these things and twisted it to their own deviousness, right? And because of that, we've experienced trauma, we've experienced hurt, we've experienced pain, we've experienced lack of trust, right? Our trust has been broken. Our hearts have been broken in more ways than one. We've experienced all of these things in life. We watched other people stab people that they claim to love in the back, right? We've watched other people do things to intentionally hurt others. We watched and learned how wicked this world is and how really they don't care, right? We've experienced all of these things. So it has skewed and it has changed the way in which God has wanted us to think about Him, think about His word, and think about His will, as well as think about us and who we are in Him. And so because of that, we don't dare to pursue. And because of that, we like to stay within our comfort zones. And because of that, we like to stay within our safe places. Because of that, we have a hard time letting things go. And I could keep going on and on and on. And so what God is saying, you have to understand how important it is to not only be obedient, but the reward that also comes from your obedience and your intentionality in being obedient. If you're not married, you should not be having sex outside of marriage. Now, if God is also giving you the revelation or put it on the inside of you to be celibate, you have to be intentional about being celibate. He didn't say, I'm sure he didn't say for you to not date, but because you're going to continue to date, right? And I know some of my good friends, they're dating God right now. And so they're not even giving a guy the time of day, but you have got to put plans and measures and things in place and be intentional about it. I talked about this before in behavior analysis. It's called putting an antecedent intervention in place. An antecedent just means before, something that comes before. So if you know what an intervention is, right? We know that an intervention is a way that somebody intervenes. If you're thinking about it from a therapeutic standpoint, early intervention is best for those diagnosed with autism, right? Early intervention is best when you have a child diagnosed with some type of developmental disability, so that as they grow up, right, they can be all that they can be, and that their disability does not hinder them. So I'm trying to give it to you like this so that you can understand why in November and December, I was already talking about preparing for January. We have to be prepared in advance. We have to do things to prepare in advance. And so back to the example of being celibate, I don't know why that came to be, but maybe it's specifically for you listening right now. But if God has called you to celibacy and you have said multiple times, I'm waiting until I get married. I'm going to do this because it's not just for me and I love myself and I want to prove this, that I can do this to myself, but it's also for God. It's also for my husband, right? There's nothing wrong. I know the world will have us think that we should not be submitting to our husbands and things like that, but there's nothing wrong to want to wait, and the next person that you give your body to is for your husband. Or if you're still a virgin, right? Stay that way. Okay. If God has put it on the inside of you, stay that way, right? Especially if he's put it on the inside of you. And if this is your first time hearing this, stay that way. Anyways, but if he's called you to celibacy, and so you know you're going to date, you have somebody that you really like, right? Maybe they say, you know what? I want to wait for God as well, right? I want to wait till marriage. Put things in place so that you are not tempted in the area of your weakness. Put things in place, right? It's all about intentionality. Again, I don't know why that example came to me. It just did. So I believe that it was for somebody. No, we don't talk about relationships and sex on this podcast, okay? As of right now, we don't. But I don't know why that came to me. But like I said, it must have been for somebody. Now, back to my email list. I said that I made the executive decision to cleanse this tribe that I've built, right? And remove as many subscribers as I need to ensure that we have a solid home base going forward. I want people a part of my community that are ready and willing to dare to pursue. I want people a part of the community that are ready and willing to give God their yes. And I'm not saying that just because you may slip up or you might backtrack a few times that you're not supposed to be here. I'm specifically saying I want to remove the people who have no intentions on doing what God has called them to do, whether that be business, ministry, moving around in their career, being a housewife, okay, or a homemaker, okay, and the list could go on again. And celibacy, that's totally a part of it as well, okay. That is who I'm. That's the real MVP. That person who is the most valuable player in their bloodline right here, right now. And they have to make the decision to break the generational curse. They have to make the decision that they're no longer going to drink, that they're going to stop smoking. They have to make the decision right here and right now, because they realize if they don't stop doing that thing, if they don't stop engaging in that behavior, the cycle is just going to repeat with their kids, and they're going to get to heaven and God is going to be like, well, I had all of this for you to do. I had all of these lives for you to change, but it didn't happen. That's the person who is the real MVP, that you actually care. I'm not saying that that person is perfect, because I am not perfect, but that's the person who I'm talking to. And so I go on to say, I always choose quality over quantity. And I know that a major shift is going to be on the other side of this decision. And so I want to come to you and share with you, there is going to be a major shift on the other side of your intentionality, on the other side of your obedience, on the other side of you blocking that person, on the other side of you moving out of that house. Right? And you know you shouldn't be living there. On the other side of you enrolling in school again. On the other side of you speaking up at your job and saying, you know what? I am way better than this position that you guys want to keep me trapped in. There is going to be a major shift, a major reward on the other side of that obedience. Another example of my obedience going into this year, oh my goodness, is that I am building Dare to Pursue's website. I am so excited, and I'm announcing it right now because I need you to know it's a reason, right? There is a reason. So if you're not on the email list, get connected, get on the email list. If you're not in the group, get in the group, okay? But another area of my intentionality, especially in being obedient, is getting this website professionally made. Now, again, if you've been here for a while, you know I've been doing this for at least 4 years, podcasting, making my own websites, having my own links, making my own courses and programs, digital products, all those things. I've been doing this at least 4 years. Okay. And so I said to God, why am I going to pay somebody to create the Dare to Pursue website when I could just do it myself? And he started to give me the vision. He started to show me there is more that I want to do through you by way of Dare to Pursue. But I need you, even though you may not necessarily have the money, I need you to pursue this in this way. I need you to be intentional about this going forward. I need you to do this. So your girl is getting a website made. I am paying for it, right? Of course, because it's not free. And this is another example that I'm trying to show you guys that being intentional to what God says, sometimes it even looks like you don't have a way or it doesn't make sense to you. And it's like, why would I spend that money when I could just do it myself? Right? I don't know why. I'm just doing what he told me to do. And I'm going to believe that, of course, he's going to make a way for it to get paid for, but he's also going to replenish my pockets after I pay for it. Right? So I kind of just threw that in there, just a little sprinkle, a little razzle dazzle, so you guys know what's coming up. Okay. But I go through and I end the email with, either way, I love you guys so much. And I'm so grateful for what we've built over the past 4 years. I wish all of you nothing but the best. And I pray that God floods you with peace, love, healing, and abundance like never before. And specifically to those sticking with me in this pursuit, the rocket is taking off. Now, if you haven't listened to that episode, which was a couple episodes back, go listen to it. The rocket is taking off. And if you go back and listen to that episode, then you know for a fact that intentionality is very important when a rocket is preparing to launch. It's very important because if it doesn't launch the correct way with the correct coordinates, with the correct things that are supposed to fall off as it launches into the air, the mission will be aborted, period. The mission will be aborted. And because we don't want to abort our missions, I need you to be intentional going into this next year. If you haven't planned, if you haven't prepped, don't worry, don't fret. You still have time, but it needs to be done this week. If you can do it today, do it today. Plan for the next 3 months, okay? January, February, March. Talk to God. God, what is my word for the year? What are my personal goals? What are my business goals? What are my career goals if you're still working in your career, your 9 to 5? What are my marriage goals, right? Even if you're not married. What are my goals as a parent, right? You need to go through and sit down and be intentional about all of these things. I think that it's so important to write our goals down because for me, at least, I've shared this many times, I'm a visual learner. I can't just have everything stuck in my head. I need to be able to see it written down on a piece of paper. And so something that I've done is not only have I planned the first 3 months and, into the past months as well, but I've also written it on a physical calendar. And then I have a whiteboard where, as I have each and everything that I'm doing every single day on the calendar, I'm going to write it down week by week on my whiteboard. So there is no way to say that I didn't see it. And the reason I did this is because, again, God is calling me to do so much. He's calling me to do so much this year. Okay. And I implore you to make sure that you stay connected. I implore you to make sure that you stay connected. He's calling me to do so much. And because I know that in the past, maybe I wouldn't go live or do something because my hair wasn't done, lashes, one nail missing or something like that. I'm putting very specific things in place. I got me a standing appointment with my lash tech, right? So girl, you ain't got no reason not to get up. I got wigs ready to just throw on, right? So now you ain't got no excuse. Your face, you don't even need no makeup. You got the lashes, keep your eyebrows done, right? And then I have my hair. You have no excuse, right? To get up and do what I said to do. Secondly, as far as actually showing up, because I've talked about this many times, but those cycles of chaos will come up and you don't either feel like it. Maybe it's that time of the month, right? Maybe you feel like you have nothing to say because your world around you is just not conducive to what God said. You have to put measures in place to make sure that even when the cycles of chaos start to yell in your ear and it's like they won't shut up, you are still able to go forward and do what God told you to do. You're still able to not get out of character. You're still able, and you're still so self-aware that Holy Spirit controls your tongue, not your flesh. Holy Spirit controls your behavior and not your flesh. This just happened to me this morning. Child, let me tell you, I was ready to let so much come off my tongue this morning, but because I asked Holy Spirit to dwell on the inside of me on a daily basis, I didn't, right? I'm proud of myself for that. And I still feel like I wish I could have said what I wanted to say. Because y'all know I had to find that fine line in between I'm no longer a people pleaser and then knowing when to shut up and I don't need to continue to argue or to combat or to, just let everything that's on my mind come out of my mouth. Right? So there was a very fine line in I'm no longer a people pleaser and I'm gonna let you know what's up, but okay, I'm gonna let you know what's up to a certain point. Or picking and choosing. I don't need to let everybody know what's up. I become a little spicy with God, and I love that for me. But also, it can be difficult because I'm like, okay, God, you told me I'm no longer a people pleaser. I'm in recovery, which means when somebody's trying me, I don't just shut up and step back. But sometimes, and I'm using the word shut up because that's just what comes to mind. I hope y'all are not taking offense to that. But I really just want to share this with you guys because nobody said that the road would be easy, but it would definitely be worth it. Nobody said that the pursuit would be easy, but it will definitely be worth it. And he's calling you to pursue. If you're here, if you're like, yes, I want to stay connected on the email list, on the podcast, in the community, you're supposed to be here. You have to be intentional though. You have to put measures in place. If you know that God is calling you to wake up at 5 a.m., you need to make sure you're in the bed by 9:30 so that you can fall asleep by 10 or however many hours that is, because you need 6.5 hours of sleep. Some people are really great off of 6 hours of sleep, while others, they need 8.5 hours of sleep. Child, I'm still trying to figure it out for myself. I know I'm not on the 6 hour part. No, ma'am, that's not me. But I think I'm probably in the middle of like that 7.5 hours of sleep. I need at least a good 7.5 hours, and then I can get up and go. But if I get too much sleep, then I wake up drowsy. So you really have to be intentional about learning yourself, learning your body, learning what best works for you. How do you learn the best, right? I've shared it. I am a visual learner and auditory. I like to see and I like to hear things. So that's why it was so important, right, for me to physically not just make notes for my personal, spiritual, marriage, business goals, and things like that, but to actually take it from off of that sheet of paper or my iPad. For me, I love to use my iPad, and to put it on a physical calendar. So when I come into my room with my desk, if you didn't know, y'all, I don't even think I shared this with you guys, but I done got my little desk area together. That was another form of intentionality before 2023. It was something that God pressed upon me. Like, you need to have a dedicated office space so you can record, not just record the podcast for audio, but also record for visuals, right? And so not only could I write everything down in my iPad and then say, you know what, I'll be able to check back on this every day. I know I'm gonna check my iPad. Nope, because I already tried that in 2022 and I didn't. I really thought, you guys, I had everything set up on my iPad. I'm like, yes, I'll check everything off one by one. I really thought. I really thought. And then I learned, right? I didn't just do it and it didn't work out and say, oh, you know what? Oh, well, but I actually learned from that no, actually, and I started it in December, it will be better if you write everything out on the iPad and then take what you have on the iPad, put it on each day of the week on the calendar. And then as a new week comes, so I'm thinking every Sunday, right? You will write down what your plans are for this week and add as I need to add, or delete as I need to delete, right? Because on the whiteboard, you can easily erase something, right? So that was a perfect example, I think, of being intentional and learning from my past mistakes. Or just, it wasn't even a mistake. I just thought that it would be something that I could do. And then every day as I continue to try to do it and think, yeah, I'm gonna wake up and look at my iPad to-do list every single day and I'm gonna do it. It didn't work out. And so when I started in December, writing things down on the calendar, from my iPad to the calendar, then to the whiteboard for each week, I was like, oh, I'm actually getting a lot more done and a lot more accomplished. Cool. I figured this out for myself, right? So I really just want to implore you guys to be intentional this year of 2023. I cannot wait to share with you the word of the Lord. Like I said, that had never happened to me before. This is new for me. This is new for me. And I asked God, I'm like, are you sure, God? Like, you sure, like, this is, you're giving this to me? You trust me in this way? And, here we are. So that is what I have for you guys for this first episode of 2023. Intentionality is key going forward. Immediate obedience will unlock so much for you that you never even knew was possible. But you've got to set your mind to it, and you've got to be intentional, and you've got to trust. I don't even think I mentioned that, but the first step, right, in daring to pursue, y'all already know, is trust. So when he first gave me the word of the Lord, I'm like, I definitely questioned myself. I said, child, that's real good. Is that just for me? He said, no, it's corporate. I said, corporate? Not you want me to share? Not you want me to do that? And so I started to doubt myself. I started to say, yeah, that was probably just for me, or I just need to pray about that. And maybe that's my word, right, for 2023. And then it came back to mind, like, what happened to immediate obedience? What happened to you didn't need 50, 60 confirmations to do something that I told you to do? And I said, okay, but I'm going to sleep on it. And if you give me a dream, God, and say that this is not what you want me to do, then okay, I got it. Child, he gave me the opposite. And then the next morning, the word of the Lord, which is what I will tell you guys once I am released to do so, it was ringing in my ears for a couple days. So yeah. I'm super excited to share that with you guys. I pray that you had a blessed and a safe and a happy, happy new year. And that is all that I have for you in this first episode of the Successful Servant Leader podcast. Let's do this, you guys. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. The rocket is taking off. The rocket is taking off. And I'll see you guys next week.